Somebody's got to get Wes Scantlin back in line, and I don't think anybody's tried to do a scathing worst to best album ranking of Puddle of Mudd. So I'm going to try that. In all seriousness, if you or a loved one is having a problem, reach out for help. Now let's talk trash about one of rock's trashiest bands. Number 6. Ubiquitous from 2023. Before I rip into this album, Puddle of Mudd are my 140th favorite band, right under No Doubt, and right above Cletus T. Judd of all artists, which I guarantee you, I am the only human being on earth to have those three artists in that ranking back to back. Wow. I think No Doubt probably need a reevaluation and move up a little bit, even though I'm not so crazy about the latest facial distortions, if you know what I'm saying. But Ubiquitous is ubiquitously bad. When Ubiquitous first came out, I thought it was all right. But I was an idiot. I was wrong. Ubiquitous shouldn't even be considered an album. It's a bunch of demos in disguise as a studio record, because unfortunately Puddle of Mudd were in too bad of shape in 2023 to record an actual album. The positives have all faded from my mind, but back in 2023, let's give it a little bit of credit for the things back then that I thought were okay. All the songs that started with the letter C were the cream of the rotten, puddly crop. Candy, Complication, and California were my favorites, even though those were freaking garbage. They smell like rotten trash in one of my thumbnails, up all the way to high heaven. Not cloud 9, like all the way up to high heaven. The lyrics are nonsense, like, my baby sold her soul for rock and roll. The music is cruddy dog poop, and you really can't get much of a worse rock album than this. It's a demos album. Even if I ranked this among demos albums, it's a 0 out of 5 for a demos album. Fart. Number 5. Welcome to Galvania. Welcome to Glavla. Dear goodness, Puddle of Mudd need to fire whoever's coming up with their album titles. Good God, it makes me mad. Is it Wes? Is the Wes Scantlin passed out on the floor? Whoever is poking Wes with a stick and asking him, what should the next album be called? Don't listen to him. He's passed out on the floor. Welcome to Galvania is really horrifically dumb in title and back to front musically. But I was roped in. I was roped into the album. I had hopes because, Uh-Oh, the lead single, Uh-Oh. It sounded okay on first listen. And then it aged like milk on second listen. And, you know, even that first listen was pushing it. Like, oh, this video is, it's kind of doofy. But it's better than, it's better than a lot of stuff. Disease Most almost returns to the quote-unquote glory days of Puddle of Mudd. And Time of Our Lives is almost decent. But that's the nicest thing that I can say about Galvania. Hey, at least the album cover does explain what a Galvania is. But I will probably say this again later in the video, but no wonder she fucking hates him. Hey, this is fitting. The 4th best Puddle of Mudd album goes to Volume 4, Songs in the Key of Love and Hate, 2009. And again, like I just said, there's no good album titles coming out of this band. There's almost nothing coming out of this band. How did they... Whoa! Volume 4. While this album is sort of the beginning of the end for Puddle's mainstream spotlight, I don't mind the sound of this record. And like Guadafania or whatever, Galvania or whatever the hell that garbage is. This album actually has a decent sound. It's got a raw, punkier sound, and it really delivers on what the Puddle gang were promising fans, which was return to form, the earlier Puddle of Mudd sound. Stoned is the most generic qualifier of butt rock, if I believed in butt rock. It's just generic butt rock song. But Spaceship is just pure boneheaded fun, and I kind of like it. A lot of back to basics rock and roll done intentionally and intentionally well. Keep It Together is a nice song on the ballad side of the Puddle, and it could have performed better, or had it been pushed on a different day. Bloods on the Table sounds like a weird combination, like Billy Talent and Motley Crue had a baby, and that baby released a song that was okay. So that's wild. However, this is not a good album. Any of the compliments that I just gave, Volume 4, whatever in the Revenge of the Mud Puddle Part Quattro, it's just, there's not enough to revisit for any reason at all. This is not a 2009 record you want to be going back to in 2025. I'm telling you, this poop right now. We're now in the top 3 Puddle of Mudd puddles. The third best Puddle of Mudd album goes to Life on Display from 2003. And top 3 albums, and even now, I'm just not excited to put this on display. I jumped into the Puddle of Mudd fandom right when they hit the scene, and they felt like they were going to be a big, huge, hard-rocking kind of metal band. They were coming up alongside Drowning Pool. It gets confusing there. Drowning Pool, Puddle of Mudd, the Drowning Puddle, or Puddle of Pool. Well, Drowning Puddle is okay. I can't think of another combination. But all that, everything was going their way, except that girls hate them. La 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 la, I ran out and bought the sophomore album, and oh man. I didn't quite nail that, but that's good because copyright laws and such. The singles are okay. Away From Me, Head Over Heels or Heels Over Head, and heck, Spin You Around has some Who vibes, the Who vibes, and that's pretty impressive. I've got to say some nice things about Puddle of Mudd right now. I'm sorry. And there are some deep cuts that rocked my world slightly back in the day. The iTunes days of 2003. Cloud 9 was, I think it was a promo free iTunes single, and it really got me excited for this record. Cloud 9 was really great, and it was definitely a step in the right direction as far as quality. And Cloud 9 and Think, they were Think, we're going to talk about that in a minute, are way better songs than the singles. The other deep cut, Think, is a pretty good rocker as well, but Life on Display overall, it was an extremely disappointing follow-up to the debut album. It's extremely disappointing listen, and I sold my copy, my CD, I sold it back to the record store for probably less than $3 after paying probably $15 or $18 for it at the same said record store. So now we're in the top two Puddle of Mudd records. Number 2 goes to 2007's Famous, and we do have to look back now. I feel like I almost put this one above Life on Display only out of pity. I thought Boston were the only rock band where it was just like when you rank them, it's just like worse and worse and worse and worse. Just massive drops in quality each time with Boston. Good Lord, Boston. That next album's going to sound like a Black Eyed Peas record or something. Oh, man. It's going to come out in 2040. Anyway, the sucky band at hand. That's not so sucky, right? Puddle of Mudd got some good stuff going on. But Famous, Puddle of Mudd are pushing it here. But Famous took the lead from Life on Display, in part because there are less songs to slog through. You know what? I think that Famous, I'm hearing these albums in my head, and I think Famous is actually a better album than Life on Display. It's close because neither are very good front to back listens by any means, but Famous is all right. It's all right. We get a good 5-song stretch, and that's quite good. We get Famous, Leaving on Borrowed Time. It Was Faith, Psycho. We don't have to look back now. I hear that song sometimes when I'm in Home Depot or Walmart's, and that's good. Or Bilo's or Publix's. But hey, It Was Faith isn't even a single. So you got a bunch of the singles front loaded, of course, and It Was Faith, pretty good deep cut. I won't give Puddle of Mudd flack for seemingly riding some Nickelback coattails with this album. We don't have to look back now, and It Was Faith. They show that softer side of Puddle of Mudd that we hadn't gotten since Blurry, and it was full of potential, money-making success and potential. If you're not blacked out, passed out on the stage, of course, that is. But yeah, in 2025, I could put Famous on and not reach for the dial too often. There is some skippable stuff here, but there are some great vocals from Mr. About a Girl, and the Famous version of this iteration of the band, the lineup that we get here. Everybody's doing their best, and their best is mid at worst and darn entertaining at best. So I kind of like this Puddle of Mudd record. It's not great or really good, but it's all right. It's all right. You can put Famous on and just let it play all the way through, and it's okay. It's not gonna make you go run screaming for the hills and like take a wrong turn in the woods somewhere. Number 1 Puddle of Mudd album, Come Clean from 2001. Can you believe it's been like 24 years since Come Clean? This is an incredible debut with a ton of hits, music videos, and that one song that gets on everybody's nerves but me. I actually like those big, goofy, jokey songs. Control put Puddle of Mudd on the map. They put a puddle on the map. Drift and Die, I thought was a bigger hit, but it's not nearly talked about enough as I think it should be. So Drift and Die is really good. I liked it more than Control for a while when it first came out. It has Drift and Die has flavors of Canadian rock band Default, which is neat. And Out of My Head and Nobody Told Me could be generic rockers, but they've got just enough flair that allow them to feel confident even as they are standing beside Blurry and She Freaking Hates Me. And I'm sorry to Cloud9 and Think, but we've got the best Puddle of Mudd deep muddle. What does that say? We've got the best Puddle of Mudd deep cut. We've got the best Puddle of Mudd deep cut in Bring Me Down. Oh man, I love Bring Me Down. That's one of the best songs on Come Clean. Come Clean! It is a bit front-loaded, but even as it peters out, this album sounds crisp and well-produced. Good job, John, the producer. She Hates Me. Did you know She Hates Me sounds like I Saw Your Mommy by Societal Tendencies? And also Summer Nights from Grease. That's a throwback to like something my parents were interested in. And the song is not about Wes Scantlin's breakup. No! This is a tribute! Wes can't get a girlfriend. I mean, no woman would ever break up with Wes Scantlin. He's perfect in every way. Trust! She hates Jimmy Allen, former band member of Puddle of Mudd. Wherever he is, I hope that he's enjoying some of the sweet, sweet royalty checks from that song. Puddle of Mudd really run the gamut of different sounding singles on Come Clean, In Your Faith, Metal of Control, Middle of the Road rock with Drift and Die, the big power ballad, Blurry, and then the obnoxious, obscene earworm with its barely bleeped F-bombs and early 2000s music video. Come Clean could have been the start of a glorious hard-rocking career. But Wes really, we messed it up again. Wes's awful, terrible behavior almost seems to coincide with each album cycle, each album release. But honestly, that's probably because he's bad 24/7. Come Clean, let's go through the list. Come Clean, he had violent offenses going on at the time. Life on Display, the Too Intoxicated to Perform era of Puddle of Mudd begins and never really ends into perpetuity. I caught a good show of Puddle of Mudd in 2005, and then a disaster Wes half dead and his son trying to take over the show in 2011. To go along with Volume 4, Wes Scantlin started to evade the IRS and paying taxes, which also he started to beat people up and pass out on stage. Very classy. Welcome to Gavania was marred by all that healthy dose of bad Nirvana coverage, which I've defended the cover for some reason. The show was taped super early in the morning, and yes, your voice can be jacked up from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Like when I'm driving to work, trying to get to work at 6 a.m., I can't quite pull a Chester Bennington when I'm like in the car trying to wake up and like make it to my freaking dead-end job. It's hard to sing when you're doing that. So yeah, Ubiquitous was not promoted at all because Wes Scantlin was busy whining about venues and the label and the bandmates and every single person on earth except for himself. Wes, maybe the label messed up. Maybe your previous bandmates weren't doing the right thing either. I don't know. But you are also the problem. You are the multiple problems. It's at the point now that Puddle of Mudd, they don't need a new label. They don't need a new band. They need a new lead singer. You're trashed. It's not entertaining. It's not fun. It's not fun to be a fan. The music sucks, and you desperately need help.